entitled A Warning from Seoul, A Democracy at Risk in the Age of Authoritarian Power. And basically what we saw was President Yoon Suk Yeol, President Yoon of South Korea, try for, I believe it only lasted 6 or 8 hours before Parliament basically backed him down, try to become a dictator. I mean, he just proclaimed, military rule. The military is taking over the media. The military, we're shutting down the Parliament, Congress. And I'm going to rule by dictate, basically. And now this is a guy who had been, he's a hardcore right-winger. He had proposed that the work week in South Korea, where if you work more than that, you get overtime. If you work less than that, you don't get overtime. That be raised from 52 hours a week to 69 hours a week. He was proposing changes in the medical system and the way that doctors are trained that had caused a national strike by physicians, because they were concerned that he was basically, coming after the national health care system, which is a pretty good system and works quite well in South Korea. He's in tight with his corporate buddies. There's a reason why they call him the Donald Trump of South Korea. Now, here's what, the good news is he failed. And in fact, now Parliament is calling for him to be, evicted, basically, impeached, and if he doesn't resign. And I would not be surprised if he resigns in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this shakes out. But what's the difference between President Yoon doing this and failing in South Korea and the possibility that Donald Trump could do this and succeed in the United States? Just do the exact same thing. Just take Yoon's template and say, hey, I can do that. Keep in mind, after all, this is what General Mike Flynn begged Donald Trump to do before he left office in 2020. Or in January of 2021. He wanted him to declare a state of emergency and declare martial law and thus prevent the transition of power to Joe Biden. And not just Mike Flynn. I mean, there was a whole cadre of people who were saying, we need to do this. Well, Trump didn't do it. I'm not sure he could have gotten away with it then. But that was then and this is now. Yoon, South Korean President Yoon, failed to control his party, the PPP party in South Korea, the Republicans of South Korea. He failed to have them kiss his butt the way that Trump has seized control of the Republican Party. He didn't put his relatives in charge of the party itself. He didn't line up the alliances that he needed, so that when Parliament voted on whether to sustain or overturn the state of emergency, 100% of his own party voted against him, the president of South Korea. Now, that's not going to be the case with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has got crazies in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives who are eager to see our democratic republic turned into a Hungarian-style or a Russian-style autocracy. I mean, they're salivating for it. Also, President Yoon, the equivalent of Fox News in South Korea, a billionaire-owned right-wing television network in South Korea that just is all right-wing all the time, is only a couple years old and doesn't have much of an audience. And there are two public broadcasters in South Korea, the equivalent of, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the television network and the radio network. There are two of those in South Korea, and they've been very independent, and they give actual news. And most of the corporate news in South Korea is pretty solid news. So the Koreans are well informed. That is not the case here in the United States. Here in the United States, we've got roughly half of Americans getting their news from sources that regularly lie to them, that certainly lie by omission, don't really fill them in with what's going on. So I think that, we need to look at what happened in South Korea yesterday as a warning. And I believe that Donald Trump and the people around him are looking at it as a template. How can we do this without the blowback that President Yoon got? So we'll see. we'll see how this shakes out in South Korea. And of course, in 6 weeks, we'll see how it shakes out here in the United States.